Ashley, what is the favor? What is the promise that got CM Punk to be inside a War Game cage with Roman Reigns? What did Paul have to promise him?
I don't know, but I don't think Roman Reigns is going to like it.
If he saw Monday Night Raw this week, CM Punk came down to do the opening segment, and he was talking about the WrestleMania side, and like he could see it. He was asking the crowd if they could see it. I have a sneaky feeling after we saw the end of War Games, we're heading to WrestleMania season. We're not getting Rock versus Roman. We're getting CM Punk versus The Rock, or CM Punk versus Roman, and Paul Heyman is going to be in the corner of CM Punk.
I think you may have missed the boat on Roman versus The Rock. You could certainly stoke the fires and get it going into WrestleMania season for sure. But you have Punk right there, and you know it's going to be money for you. So I don't see why WWE doesn't make that adjustment and do Roman versus Rock for maybe like a Paul Heyman on a pole match or something.
Going back to War Games, I was surprised that the original Bloodline beat the new Bloodline, and we had no Rock. I was thinking, okay, it's going to get desperate for the new Bloodline. They're going to be getting their butts kicked by the originals in CM Punk. Here comes the Rock out. The Rock comes down, opens the cage up, gets in there, Rock bombs Roman, tosses Solo on top of Roman. 1, 2, 3. The new Bloodline wins. We carried the story on as we're going into WrestleMania season with Roman and Rock. But what we got was Solo dying on his shield as he took every finisher from the babyfaces in that War Game match.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like The Rock and Roman, we should have done this almost 2 years ago, maybe even a little earlier. And then when we didn't do it again this year, this turn with Roman Reigns, like I feel like CM Punk is going to be like the ultimate antagonist. Like we already know that. So I feel like pivoting to him and building this up with Paul Heyman being involved could be the better way to go than trying to rehash the stuff with The Rock, especially like you said, since you haven't had him come in to do anything with the Bloodline as of late.
Yeah, you notice this, he's quote unquote the final boss. He's kind of forgot his JV team in Solo and his crew, and they got treated like the JV team at War Games.
That's true. They did. They did.
Now, granted, fairly, they got rebuilt up on SmackDown this past Friday night as they came out and laid waste to Apollo Crews and a bunch of different other geeks on SmackDown. So at least they're still trying to keep Solo strong as we head into the Royal Rumble season, and we'll have to see where it goes. But I get a feeling that you're right, that we're going with Punk versus Roman, and I get a feeling, like you said, Paul Heyman is going to have to side with Punk, or maybe not have to side with him. Paul Heyman wants to side with him because he's pissed off at Roman for Roman not to check on him after he got taken for a table by Solo.
That's true. You could definitely go that route. I think this is your money way to go right now. Like I said, it's a real, like you said too, it's a missed opportunity to not have The Rock come back in and do anything with this new version of the Bloodline since they've really formed. But right now, I think you got Punk. He's back. He's healthy. I think Punk versus Roman is the biggest match you can put on.
It's the biggest match you can put on. It's a better match than Rock versus Roman. Sorry, not sorry. And I gotta say, why not? We got everything laying in path here to get this match going. It's money on the table. Why not just make the money? So let's go over to our control center to catch you up on the week in professional wrestling news. Okay, Ashley, my first news story to you is one you brought to me, as the IWGP Tag Team titles have been held up vacant now since the Tag Team Champions are injured, and the planned match for the Young Bucks is off for Wrestle Dynasty.
Yeah, this is awful. A very terrible night for the United Empire the other night. Great Khan and Hanari involved in a match where Hanari gets thrown, but his knee catches very awkwardly, and they have to stop the match. And that puts Naito and Hiromu through after that. Followed a few matches later by Callum Newman also injuring his knee. I haven't seen any updates as far as their conditions, but this really sucks in terms for what was coming up for Wrestle Kingdom. But I just hope that they're okay first and foremost. Because to have two matches stopped in one night on a card is very scary.
Very true. We just want to wish the gentleman a speedy recovery and thoughts and prayers to both of them as we head into Wrestle Kingdom season, which is crazy to think we're literally 3 weeks out from Wrestle Kingdom.
Yeah, and Hanari's had such a great year. Starting off with that cage match at the beginning of the year, and then after coming back from his injury, just killing it all this year. This really sucks going into the biggest shows of the year for New Japan.
Very true. We'll keep you updated next week on Radio Free Professional Wrestling. My second news story was brought to you by you, and it was first reported by Fightful as Ryan Neff, the brother of Nick Neff, had filed a complaint with HR at AEW about alleged harassment and threats by CM Punk, and according to Neff, AEW failed to address the situation.
Yeah, this is not a good thing to be coming out for AEW. I don't think there's any surprise that there was problems. I think it's pretty well known that there were some problems there. So I'm not surprised to see him do this. I am surprised that AEW did not think enough of this to take it seriously. That's beyond disgusting, honestly. Like, if somebody's coming to you with these complaints, they need to be taken seriously.
Very true. I feel like we are just getting more and more into the iceberg that is this CM Punk AEW relationship and how it went sour so freaking fast.
Yeah. I think no matter what, there's going to be people that have to own up to allowing things to happen. I mean, especially like where was HR or whatever during this? You know, like there had to be something.
Very true. And I feel like if you're going on 5 years in a company, you should be out of the growing stages, out of the growing pain stages of actually running a company. And honestly, you should have all this framework in place before you started your first show on TBS or TNT.
Yeah, I think this also speaks to how blinded Tony Khan was just having CM Punk in the company. He wanted him there so bad, and I don't know how accurate these accusations are. Obviously, like, we weren't there. We're not. These are all alleged to Ryan Nemeth, but with all of the issues seemingly with, I mean, this laundry list of wrestlers, something had to be known backstage. Like, there's no way you didn't notice him having problems with like a quarter of your roster.
Exactly. If it's one person always on the other end, and you have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people having an issue with somebody, it might just be the person on the other side.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm willing to say that Tony Khan needs to take some blame here too, because he's a boss, and the Bucks, as much as people may be divided on them, are EVPs of AEW. Hangman is a top guy there. You should have known, you should have seen there were problems there, and you didn't do anything to mediate there.
Exactly. I mean, like, the buck does stop, no pun intended, with Tony Khan. So let's go on
I think
to
that's why a lot of people want him to get some help. So hopefully he can keep an open mind about this with, this new AEW deal and stuff.
I really feel like he needs to have somebody else be president of operations for AEW, and he just needs to be the owner slash founder, the money person of this operation, and he can have final say of creative control. But day-to-day operation needs to be somebody who's used to doing day-to-day operation, and have somebody who's willing to set the line and throw the hammer down when somebody crosses said line.
Yeah, because sometimes I don't think Tony Khan is that guy at all.
No. His track record has proven that he is not that guy. So let's go on to our next news story. As I learned on Friday Night SmackDown as I was watching it, Michael Cole said that they are doing a transfer window, and certain talent from all three shows, NXT, Raw, SmackDown, are eligible to move around as we head towards Raw's move to Netflix. So, Ashley, I got a big feeling that Roman Reigns is heading over to the Red Brand. He's heading over to Monday nights to be on Netflix.
Oh, yeah. For the amount of money Netflix paid for this deal, they're going to want the top guys.
They'd be like, we want some Roman Reigns, we want some Cody Rhodes, and just be a big old laundry list here.
I think we may see a changing of the star-studded show here.
True. You can honestly say that SmackDown for the last 6 to 9 months has been actually technically the A show, and Raw was the B show. Now it's just they're going over to Netflix, and Netflix has paid that big, nice pot of money and given them like a 10-year deal. I feel like Netflix is going to want Roman and Cody, CM Punk, the star power to come back to their Monday show. And secondary news story. Since Netflix has Raw, there's a series of events heading into WrestleMania season where Raw will be in Europe. They're going to telecast that live around the world. So literally, we will have afternoon Raw.
Yeah, very cool stuff going on.
Yes, very true. Very cool stuff. And I'm all in favor for European time starts because that's easier time starts for us in North America.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Okay, on to my next news story. As on Monday Night Raw, we saw the return of Big E for the first time to Monday Night Raw in 4 years. And unfortunately for Big E, Kofi Kingston, Xavier Woods, booted him out of the New Day. If you haven't seen the segment, go to YouTube, look it up. It's one of the best segments of Raw this year. And it was one of the best heel turns I have seen in the WWE in a good while.
I'm so excited to see him back.
And I got my fingers crossed that since we did this heel turn with the New Day, Big E is close to being cleared, and Big E is going to have his return. And hopefully, this is a WrestleMania match where it's Big E and a partner of his choice versus Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods. I feel like, dude, that would be some fun stuff.
It's funny because a few months ago we were debating between the two who did we want to see go heel, Xavier or Kofi, and neither one of us thought, hey, both of them.
hey, granted, I know we both did think. And the answer is both, because I was going like, did I want to see Kofi Kingston turn heel? Did I want to see a heel Kofi? And after that segment, I was like, that makes sense. And I'm like, it does make sense because they feel like Big E abandoned them to go to do the premium live events pre-shows and not be there week after week with them like he wanted to be now, their manager. And they go like, dude, you could have done this like a couple of years ago. Why do you want to do it now?
Yeah. No, I'm like you said, I hope this it means he's a step closer to getting back into the ring. All the fingers crossed because we've seen the advancement in treatments for these neck injuries and how it's been able to extend careers for some. So I know it was a scary injury, but I would love to see him be able to come back and, like you said, have maybe a tag team match at WrestleMania with these guys.
That is what I'm hoping for. I got my fingers crossed. We'll keep you updated here on Radio Free Professional Wrestling. And my last news story this week, also Raw. At the end of it, we saw the return of Drew McIntyre, and he basically beat the heck out of Sami Zayn, as it seems like he is redoing his beef with the Bloodline. And I got a feeling that we're seeing Seth and Drew going to come together to form a anti-babyface faction to face off against the Bloodline.
Honestly, you got two of WWE's best kind of like shit talkers over here. So I mean, why not pair them together and let them kind of go after the baby faces?
And if you saw the beginning of Raw, Seth comes down to face off against CM Punk, and basically he says, I wish I just went ahead and punched you out the first time I saw you back at Survivor Series 1 year ago. So I got a feeling that Seth is slowly going to turn heel and be the mastermind behind this faction that is going to probably end up on Friday night and face off against the Bloodline.
Yeah, and those would be some good names to keep on SmackDown too, with kind of all the other projections to go to Raw.
It is going to be a very crazy end of December, since basically Raw starts on Netflix the very first week of January. So they got to get this roster set ASAP. So let's go over to our 76 questions of the week. And my very first stunning question for you, Ashlee. Since we're talking about SmackDown, let's talk about the U.S. Women's Title Tournament as we're down to the final grouping. Who do you want to come as the very first U.S. Women's Champion? Our semifinals are set. We have Tiffany Stratton versus Meechin and Chelsea Green versus Bayley.
Give it to Chelsea.
I do believe you are taking the most popular choice here, and the world will be behind you as Chelsea Green is tearing it up on Friday nights. She is one of the most entertaining people on SmackDown. And honestly, I don't see a better option because I doubt Tiffany Stratton is going to be in the final. This simply for the fact she's Mrs. Money in the Bank. She literally showed up on NXT Deadline saying, oh, hey, I can go anywhere I want to. I got the briefcase.
Yeah, and it's already December. We're rounding the corner to coming back around again.
Well, I get a feeling that since we got these semifinal matches going, Candice LeRae is going to cost Tiffany Stratton her match against Meechin, and that is going to set up Tiffany's babyface return, and Nia Jackson is going to start with Candice. And like I said, like last week, I feel like Tiffany's going to cash that briefcase in on Nia, and we're going to make Tiffany Stratton the babyface.
Yeah, I feel like that's the direction they're going to go to.
So, my friend, on to my next stunning question for you. Stunning question number 2. Was the Dynamite Dozen Battle Royal very predictable?
In short, yes. When you have a 12-man match and you give one man an entrance, you know who's going to win. And we've spoken about AEW and their predictability in their tournaments previously. This was very much one of those moments where there was about 10 names that you would have loved to see win this opportunity, but you knew were not going to. And then there was Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole.
Yes, Ashley, that was true. As soon as I saw the Dark Order out there, as soon as I saw Let's Hoyt find Cage, I'm going like, all these parts don't add up to the other two people in this ring, one being Adam Cole, one being Kyle O'Reilly. I'm going like, I can pick this coming out of nowhere. My second question to this is, should MJF have to defend this freaking ring every year in this battle royal? Because it seems like year after year we add another step to this Diamond Ring gimmick. Now we're basically having this match come out on Dynamite this week where it's Adam Cole versus Kyle O'Reilly for the right to face MJF at World's End.
Truthfully, I mean, I don't know. I don't see it as like a big thing, but I mean, MJF does use it all the time, and he does kind of have it ingrained into his character as like his like weapon of choice and things like that. It would make sense if they would put a little more effort into it, I guess.
I guess 4 years in, and the fact that he's has had this since day one of this tournament or battle royal, however you want to say it. I just kind of think we should sweep this underneath the rug and let him keep the ring. Or, like I said, let the guy defend it every year. And eventually somebody needs to beat him for this ring so he's not the only one that has it.
Yeah, I mean, I can see it. MJF is just it's weird because it's I think AEW sort of sees it as something to give him in terms of like we don't have to put a belt on him right now. You know, like we want him to have something, but we don't have to put a belt on him right now. We can kind of keep the belts kind of flowing in and out of other storylines for right now. But like I said, you don't really put any effort into it. That battle royal was less than spectacular, let's say. So I mean, either give it the prestige that it deserves or don't do it.
Well, we'll just put a pin on that until after World's End. We'll revisit this in 2025. On to my next Sunday question. We'll stay with AEW because if you saw Dynamite this past week, I got a sneaky feeling that we are heading to a four-way title match for the AEW World Championship between Jon Moxley, Heyman Adam Page, Jay White, Orange Cassidy, and don't forget, Father of the Year, Christian Cage still has that contract. He hasn't cashed in yet.
I am ready for that. That segment that pretty much led into that was probably my favorite thing about Dynamite last week. We saw Hangman kind of come out and confront Moxley, who was beating up Orange Cassidy, who was out there in the ring. We got like our Avengers type group coming together to run off the Death Riders. You got Jay White and Hangman and Orange Cassidy all coming together. Yes, this is what I want to see. I want to see these guys getting them out of here like this. And Yuta eating another orange punch. That is all I need, really.
I mean, that's basically why he's in the Death Riders. He's the punching bag for the baby faces.
And for Moxley.
And for Moxley. But I do kind of like this ragtag group of quasi AEW defenders, and I can't say baby faces because you got Heyman and Jay White there, and they're kind of like tweeners. And we can't forget about Swerve Strickland, and Swerve Strickland's ran around there too somewhere.
And honestly, like, give me that interaction. Like, we've now had Hangman and the Death Riders. Give me Swerve and the Death Riders interacting. And that way, like, I know, can they coexist? I don't care, man. Give me Hangman and Swerve having to team up to take on these Death Riders.
I mean, I know it's the biggest wrestling cliche in the world, but these four guys.
That's all I want is a good cliche.
And that's where I'm going. These four guys are entertaining when you put them together, and you have Christian Cage like Fandos over there just biding his time so he can hit the snap. And like, look, I'm AEW World Champion.
Yeah, and I'm genuinely interested to see if they will pull the trigger on an actual title reign, or if it's just he cashes it in and then gets his ass whooped or something. But he would deserve it either way.
I want to see him this easily become AEW World Champion without doing any work whatsoever. This 4-way match is the perfect opportunity for him to do this.
Yeah, especially because I love our boys coming together to take on the Death Riders, but I don't see them coexisting right now.
I don't see any one of the three allowing the other one to win the AEW World Title for Jon Moxley. So I feel like Jon Moxley might be the person coming out of World's End as your AEW World Champion.
Yeah, especially with the Jay White and Hangman. I feel like Jay White and Hangman are going to be antagonizing each other too much.
But I'm all here for it. Let's go. So let's stay with AEW. We'll go to my next standing question. Who do you predict as the Blue and Gold winners as we're deep in the C2 tournament as we just got done with Collision this evening? And Kyle Fletcher is running away with the Blue lead with 9 freaking points. Let's catch everybody up on point totals here. We'll start with Blue as we have Okada with 4 points. Already said Kyle Fletcher has 9. Shelton Benjamin has 3, and MVP was so ticked off that he lost his match on Dynamite. Ashley, your buddy Beast Mortos, he needs a little help. You might need to go manage him. He has 0 points. Mark Briscoe has 3 points, and Daniel Garcia has 4 points. If we go to the gold standings, Darby has 3 points. Claudio has 6 points. Will Ospreay has 3. So does Ricochet and Brody King. And poor Commander, our substitute for our beloved Juice Robinson, has 0 points.
Get well soon, Juice.
True. Guns up.
Guns up.
So, Ashley, who would you take from both brackets?
I feel like the obvious choices have to be Fletcher and Ospreay.
You know, I just
this tournament was kind of set up to give us that rematch.
I feel like this is where we're getting the second of the 3 in the trilogy of Kyle Fletcher versus Will Ospreay. And I feel bad for Okada because if Okada doesn't come out of his own bracket, he's no longer the Continental Champion.
Yeah, and that means the Elite have lost every bit of gold they've had.
Exactly. There's no go with the Elite. So I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to say it's going to be. I mean, Kyle Fletcher is 9 points. I mean, he's clearly going to be in the semifinals for his group. And they've been pushing him to the moon like he is their project right now. He is.
Yeah, for sure.
He is either like 1C or 1B heel on Dynamite and in AEW. And I feel like he's going to come out of that. You said Ospreay. And I look at the point spread over here. The only other person I feel like could do anything is maybe if they give Darby a run here and we get Darby versus Kyle Fletcher. I'll pick Darby versus Kyle Fletcher as my 2.
Honestly, not a bad choice. Darby Allin had a very good match tonight, too. I wouldn't be opposed to even seeing Claudio win this. Claudio versus Fletcher, like some Death Riders and Don Callis stuff. Like, can Don Callis would he even dare try to get under the skin of Jon Moxley after what happened the last time they interacted?
That would be interesting if we go the direction of Claudio versus Fletcher and Claudio wins here and he's the new Continental Champion and Moxley is your AEW World Champion and Fletcher and Don Callis have to join our Monty band of AEW defenders, and we get Kyle Fletcher to join Jay White, Heyman Adam Page, First Strickland, and they're managed by Don Callis.
I'm still torn on my feelings about Don Callis.
I mean, it'd be a crazy story, but hey, I'll get some popcorn. I'm here for it.
Yeah, I mean, everything the Death Riders have been doing is crazy, so I'm for it.
Okay, let's go into our next studying question as I'm going to work my way back to War Games. And we already talked about it a little bit in our control center. But Ashlee, should the new Bloodline have won the War Game match? I mean, the War Games match is set to settle the score. But I had a feeling that if you're going to push the new Bloodline as killers, they needed to win this match. Now, granted, 2/5 of their group is hurt now after this match.
Yeah, that's not great coming out of this.
As they lost Tomaloro and Bronson Reed. And Bronson Reed is going to be out for a good while because he injured his ankle like badly.
Damn. Another week for this injury list. Yeah, I'm confused as to the direction for this new Bloodline. Like the original Bloodline had such a clear direction, and this new one seemed to like want to come in, be the new young dog. But it seems like they quickly got put in line.
Yeah, if you were thinking about this in Star Wars terms, we had like the first Star Wars movie, then we had the Empire Strike Back. We're missing like the New Hope. I feel like we skip a chapter here. Like we need to see the bad guys run amok just a little bit longer, and then have like Roman really have to go out of his way to bring the Bloodline back together to defeat the new Bloodline. But I feel like we just fast forward this to get it done because we're going into WrestleMania season, and that's not the plan no more.
Yeah, and I feel like throughout the year, some of the matches that were, I think, like trying to be used to make Solo look like a credible threat. Like, I think honestly, we should have pulled the trigger on some of these matches for him. You give them the shock win, whether you're gonna do endless outside interference from the rest of the bloodline to give him a win over, like give him a big singles win over Cody Rhodes, have him win the championship, like scare Roman Reigns a bit, more than he did. It feels like Roman just kind of came back and was just like, yeah, I'm going to take my spot back. And then he did.
And the funny thing is, they still refer to Solo as a tribal chief. Wait a minute, you just get your butt handed to you at War Games. The tribal chief is Roman Reigns. OTC?
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Like, you kind of don't have anything now. Now your group is kind of splintered because of legit injuries now and stuff, and people being out. So now, where does that leave Solo?
Very true. On an island by himself and not the Isle of Relevancy.
Yeah, and I mean, if he still has the audacity to try to take on Roman now, he certainly isn't going to have the backup he did. And Roman 4 now has at least some friends.
Okay, so if they keep Cody on SmackDown, maybe they're going to go with him versus Cody for the title during WrestleMania season, and we have Roman and CM Punk on Raw. Unless they flip Gunther to SmackDown, Cody to Raw. As on Raw, we kind of saw Finn go after Gunther and kind of sort of turn Gunther babyface, and we're going to just come up Saturday night's main event on NBC this come out Saturday with Gunther versus Finn Balor and Gunther's position as the face. I'm like, are we trying to turn Gunther face?
Honestly, I'm kind of a little interested in it. I like the more complicated babyface storylines, and I think kind of having like somebody like a Roman Reigns or a Gunther be babyface in kind of contrast to like Cody Rhodes is like kind of like old school white meat babyface kind of thing. I like those kind of like different strokes like that.
It's just we know my feelings for Gunther, and I'm just not gonna buy him as a baby face, but he's a good wrestler. But
he does just very much have like big scary heel written all over him. I will give you that. Like he definitely looks that part. But we've seen WWE kind of struggle with baby faces over the years, so I'm not opposed to seeing what he can do in that role. Maybe he can elevate one of the other members, that he's around, up into like a high heel role in that, like, kind of same breath.
Luger Kaiser is the hitman to him, and I feel like maybe they can split them apart. And Kaiser is a good professional wrestler, and he is like genetically heel. And if you design a heel in a lab, it'd be Kaiser. Like easily, you just make him hit the button. So we'll see. It's gonna be a very interesting start to 2025, and I can't wait. We'll be here on Radio Free Professional Wrestling. Ashlee, where can we find you on the Super Information Superhighway?
So mostly posting on Blue Sky now, and it's at groovyash.bsky.social.
And before I say, you can follow us on Twitter at Radio Free PW. Go over to our Facebook page, Radio Free Professional Wrestling. Help us decide the best and worst of 2024 as I have put out the survey. I will link it in the show notes on the video version of the podcast and the audio podcast. We will be recording our best and worst of 2024 coming up here in a couple of weeks. And I know Ashley,
I have so many for every category.
Trust me, I do too. I have a lot of choices. I've got to narrow down. I'm going to go back and watch a few matches just to weed out some things. But ladies and gentlemen, that has been Radio Free Professional Wrestling this week. Until we see you next time, remember, this is our groovy and sunny era. Guns up.